Electricity is the heartbeat of our society. Without it, our way of life would be sent back to the 19th century. The source of this electricity is equally as important. There are many sources we use today, but consider this. Which form is the most efficient and cost-effective? Good afternoon. Today I will be presenting the comparative advantages nuclear energy has over other forms of alternative energy. Based on my research and according to experts, I will be sharing with you information about solar, wind, natural gas, and nuclear power. And finally, I will be responding to some opposing views that some of you may share. Just like Daniel Lincott, the chairman of the European Photovoltaic Solar Energy Conference, you too may believe that solar is the answer to all of our problems. However, there is a great deal of evidence to the contrary. Solar panels are inefficient. Even today's most efficient solar panels capture only 30% of the sun's energy. The rest of the sun's rays are wasted in the form of heat. Installing solar is also extremely expensive. In 2014, the average cost of installing solar panels was over $7,000 per kilowatt hour. According to the United States Department of Energy, this is why solar amounts to a mere 0.5% of the US energy consumption today. Solar is also highly unreliable. There is no guarantee that energy will be generated on any given day. Rain, fog, and virtually every other type of weather prevents the generation of electricity. The only way to combat this unreliability is by installing a grossly oversized system equipped with batteries, which further escalates the cost of solar. Similarly to solar, wind power also has its own set of drawbacks. Many of you may agree with the facts presented in the Wind Vision report from the United States Department of Energy. However, the minuscule list of positives does not outweigh the long list of negatives. Wind is highly unreliable. Turbines are only able to work when the wind blows. Many of the turbines fall into disrepair and do not function at their optimum. Wind power also makes inefficient use of its resources. According to leading engineers, most turbines only function at 25% of their capacity. Wind power also has many negative effects on the environment. The turbines disturb ecosystems by disrupting animal and plant life, according to the Environmental Protection Agency. The construction of these turbines also cuts into hillsides and makes erosion much more likely, resulting in expensive repairs and damage to the surrounding environment. One of the more popular sources of electricity today is the burning of natural gas. And like the good people with the Public Service Enterprise Group Incorporated, you too may believe that it is the best option available to us. However, natural gas comes with its own special set of drawbacks. Natural gas is non-renewable. According to the United States Department of Energy, there is a limited supply of natural gas that cannot be renewed for millennia. Concentrated sources of natural gas also require long-distance transportation. Natural gas is also bad for the environment. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, the burning of natural gas produces high amounts of carbon dioxide. It is also highly explosive and has the potential to be highly dangerous because it is stored and transported under very high pressure. It is also comprised of 80 to 95% methane, which is a potent greenhouse gas. With all these options being inefficient or potentially dangerous, what else is left, you may ask? To this, I will answer nuclear power. Nuclear power is cheaper to produce than any of the previously stated methods. According to the United States Department of Energy, nuclear power costs approximately 10 cents per kilowatt hour to generate. On the other hand, natural gas costs 13 cents, wind costs 20 cents, and solar costs a staggering 24 cents per kilowatt hour to generate. The cost of producing nuclear energy will most certainly remain low for the foreseeable future. Even if the cost of uranium were to double, the cost of operating any given nuclear power plant would not increase by more than 7%. Nuclear power is also incredibly efficient. A very small amount of uranium produces a very large amount of energy. A single truckload of uranium has the ability to generate as much as 1,000 truckloads of coal. Nuclear power is also easy on the environment. Nuclear power does not produce any greenhouse gases at all, and the waste has been safely stored underground since the 1960s. I will now wrap things up by responding to some opposing views that some of you may share. The most famous disaster of which is the Chernobyl disaster of 1986. This was the result of many preventable errors. There were many emergency shutdown systems that were not fully functional at the time tests were being made on the plant. This allowed the core to overheat and essentially melt the reactor. Unfortunately, the Soviet Union was under the control of a communist system which had no value on human life or the protection of the environment. No safety dome had been constructed around the reactor, and this allowed vast amounts of radiation into the atmosphere, killing hundreds over the next decade. Had they followed the standard procedures of the United States, this disaster could have been entirely prevented. The next of which is the 3 Mile Island accident. In the state of Pennsylvania in 1979, the number 2 reactor was running at 97% of its capacity. A clogged filter prevented water from reaching the reactor. This caused the reactor to overheat and an emergency shutdown system kicked into gear. With the reactor shut down, the main water pumps also shut down, and this allowed the remaining heat to concentrate. In doing so, 3 auxiliary water pumps started up. However, the valves leading to the reactor were closed, preventing water from reaching the reactor. Having these valves shut while the reactor was operating was in direct violation of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Again, following procedure would have prevented this disaster. In conclusion, I have shared with you the numerous reasons as to why nuclear power is superior to other forms of energy, such as solar, wind, and natural gas. With this information, one can easily conclude that the obvious choice is not to eliminate alternative forms of energy, but rather to expand on the most efficient and cost-effective one. Thank you. Are there any questions?